Hello, I'm Lisa Turner, and welcome to Unusual Answers to Everyday Questions. Channeled from my guides, No1Guide. No1Guide is a highly evolved stream of consciousness. They've never lived before, and they're not dead people. Now, I don't ask you to believe anything in this presentation. Just listen to the answers, and you decide if the information is useful to you.
And the next question, Sophie asks, what happens after death? Is there a particular period of 40 days, and what is going on then? Can it be helped or supported by relatives or other persons, and how? A year ago, I asked, how can I help my old grandfather? And there was no answer other than to take care within myself of the need to help him. Yet, I think in this asking, I stepped out of and volunteered to help him around before and after his moment of death. Is that so, and what do I need to know? So to answer the first question first, what happens after death? From our perspective, death creates the following. Death is simply the death of the physical body, and of course the soul is infinite and always lives on and returns to source. The soul is that part of source energy which is in the individual. And that part returns to source. Well, indeed, it has never been separate from source, but it is now completely reunited with source with no experience of being in a physical body. However, with that, the personality of the person, if you like, the unconscious mind, the patternings in its neurology, they also return to source. And what happens also is that some of the patterns do not immediately return to source. They take some time to be reabsorbed into source because some of those patterns are constrictive, constraining. And this is where you would get the experiences that you might call ghosts. Indeed, one of the reasons you fear ghosts is because they are almost in their nature, they are almost inherently always constrictive, contractive, because they are the contractive parts of the personality. And even though they may appear to be pleasant and friendly, they are still contractive. If they were not contracted, they would have returned to source. And eventually they do become released. And they expand once more. However, this sometimes takes some time. And it is not fixed how long this takes. It is not 40 days. It is not 12 days for everyone. It is what it is. It takes as long as it takes, which is why for some, and let us call it an entity, for some, or let us call it a personality, for some personalities, the contracted patterns remained on your earth plane for many years. For example, the patterning of the being you would call Hitler remained on the earth plane for many years. His neurology was very contracted. And eventually it was reabsorbed. And other beings who are less contracted but still believe, rightly or wrongly, in many cases, that they had work to do. They still desired to evolve, and so they attempted to stay on the earth plane. They attempted to have their neurology, have their patterning remain on the earth plane. However, without a physical body, there were no actions they could take. There was no neurology to expand, and so this was futile. So even though these beings may be entirely helpful and loving, they are misguided because they cannot evolve when on the earth plane. And so what to do with this patterning, that this energy signature that has remained on the earth plane, what to do with this, how to help it. So there is an energetic process which Lisa has shared with you. It is very, very effective at releasing those patternings that are trapped on the earth plane. And indeed, and it is called Ho'oponopono. And indeed, there are many beings on the planet at this time who are going to specific locations to connect with those patterns and then performing Ho'oponopono to release those patterns, to clear your earth plane. There are many places on your planet where there is a congestion of energy signatures that are not beneficial to evolution. And we see many of these in many of your countries. And some of your countries are very wealthy nations, and some of those are very poor nations. And there are many who are choosing to do this earth clearing work, and this is powerful and significant at this time. So this is something that you may wish to do, Sophie, to assist your grandfather, would be to connect with that patterning. And you do not need to travel to do this. You can do this wherever you are physically, and then release it back to source, back to light. And as to the other question, we have answered this. We have spoken.
You've been watching Unusual Answers to Everyday Questions. If you have a question for No1Guide, go to www.psychacademy.co.uk. Join our newsletter, email us, let us know what you think.